Alright guys, today we're going to go over a cold weather engine, nitro engine break-in. Today it's about 20 degrees outside, so it's well below freezing. There's some right ways and wrong ways to do this, definitely. What I'm going to be using today, this is the first time I've ever used this. This is called the Bones Brew. It's a 30% nitro break-in fuel. It has a high ash content in it, which acts as a lapping effect to seat the piston to the sleeve a lot faster than a regular nitro fuel will. This is only to be used during break-in. They say on the side that if you use this as a normal running fuel, it will blow your engine out. It will, it will overlap your piston and sleeve and cause your engine to fail way prematurely. So this is supposed to work. One quart is supposed to do 80 to 90% of the break-in. Versus like your normal nitro engine fuel takes about a gallon, sometimes more than that. What I'm going to be breaking in, this is my TNS modified Novorossi Rex Legend, 0.28, it's an 8-port Novorossi engine. I just ordered a new piston sleeve and connecting rod for this truck. I got a good deal on it on Black Friday special. I've had some suspicion that I may have idled this engine a little bit too long. It's the first engine I've ever had that had a lapped piston in it, and I think I may have idled it a little bit too long because it seems like I'm losing a little bit of power as the engine comes up and gets hotter to its operating temperature. So I got a good deal on the new piston sleeve and connecting rod. I'm going to put it in here and break this engine in. I'm going to break it in using this new method with this Bones break-in fuel. I've done quite a bit of research on it. Well, as much as I can. There's only a couple of forums that talk about it, but there's some guys that swear by this stuff. And so far, I've ran one tank through it, or one half tank through it, and I popped the exhaust off of it last night and looked in the back, and that piston looks shining. It looks great. So I'll be sure to throw some pictures up of the piston, what it looks like after I run this fuel. And you guys can see firsthand on how the engine runs after we get this completed. This engine, using my heat gun over here, I'm going to preheat it to 200 degrees, taking the temperature at the top of the cooling head. If it's cold outside, and I know that a lot of people get, RC cars for Christmas and stuff like that, and we got Christmas coming up now. And if you're impatient and love the RC like I do, you're not going to wait till winter passes. So I want to put this video out there so you guys can have something to reference when you go to break in your engine this winter. What you're going to need is some aluminum foil or a sock or something like that. Some tire foams work pretty good too. You're going to preheat your engine, preferably using a heat gun. You can use a hair dryer, but you're not going to be able to get it to 200 degrees using a hair dryer. Maybe about 160 possibly. Anyways, you're going to preheat it 200 degrees. You're going to wrap the cooling head like a baked potato. Just wrap it around just like this, all the way around it to keep the heat in the engine and to keep, as you drive it around, to keep the air from passing through those cooling fins and cooling it down too much. This engine right here, what you want to do is keep it between 200 degrees and 230 degrees. Preferably split the middle of that, around 215 is a great temperature to break in the engine. This engine here, I've done a little bit yesterday, went in the half tank, and the temperature was about the same yesterday. It was a little bit warmer, but all it was required for this engine to keep it 215 degrees, running at the break-in settings or real rich settings, was wrapping it about this much. So you're going to have to experiment and keep an eye on your temperature to find out how much or how much you're going to need. You might need to peel your expose some of these fins in order to get your temperatures just right. You'll just have to go and start doing it and figure it out from there. So let's go ahead and we're going to get this engine preheated to 200 degrees, get it started up. What I've done for this engine is I've idled one half tank of this break-in fuel, and then I put it directly on the ground, and I've been running it around on the grass. This is not freshly mowed, but it's short grass. It's not real tall grass, so it's not putting a whole lot of strain on the engine. But running it in grass will help to bring your temperatures up on the engine. Yeah, what I'm doing now is just driving it around very lightly, really easily. As you can see, I've got the head wrapped with aluminum foil. Partially wrapped, actually. With this engine here, running this break-in fuel, it's doing the lapping effect. I'm going to assume it's going to create a little more friction. Well, it's obviously going to create more friction because it's got an abrasive, some type of abrasive in it if it's doing a lapping effect. So it's going to create more heat. So the engine, if I wrap it completely with aluminum foil, is running too hot for a break-in. I am still doing a heat cycle method on this, so after every tank, you know, the piston goes to bottom dead center and completely cools to ambient temperature. Cool, it's warmed up just a touch now. It's in the mid-20s out here today. Running good. Right where I want it, preferably between 200 and 230. .211's a good temp. See, I noticed I'm getting a little more aggressive now with the throttle as I go along. I'm not mistaken, the theory behind increasing the speed like this as you progress on your tanks is because you want, your seating from your piston and your sleeve is getting less and less. It's getting the final seating job, mating job, whatever you want to call it, it's getting closer and closer tolerances. It's getting finer and finer. So what you want to happen is you want it to, when you fully get it seated and mated perfectly, you want it to break in and seat as close to the RPM range as you're going to be running it as you possibly can, especially if you're a racer. Talk to some guys that know what they're doing, and a lot of them will break in their engines on the break-in stands using a propeller, and they break them in at the RPM range that they're going to be racing. That RPM range is the way they break them in using a propeller running at the RPM range that they're going to be running on the racetrack. Because the piston supposedly changes shape at different speeds. So you want to break it in as close to the RPM range you're going to be running as possible. I'm going to do it, take the chance and see how it works. So far I'm impressed. I'm not even going to run the last tank of this. I'm not going to run the full quart because I don't want to take a chance on overdoing it. So I'm going to be running just these 3 tanks, and that's it. I'm going back to regular nitro fuel after this. .223, 226, something like that is where it's staying. Running very consistent temperature. to regular nitro fuel today. It's nitro fuel that's been treated with castor oil additive. Still running at a very rich setting, a very wet break-in. You know, to flush out all those aluminum particles. In my fingers. Just oil pouring out of that pipe. And that's what you want. Make sure to flush all those particles out. And keep it very well lubricated.